Welcome to Problem Solver 44. Hopefully you've already read the problem. If you have not had a chance to do so, please pause the video at this time and read the problem to yourself. I have gone ahead and made a chart of all of the different animals for the mascot and what fraction of the student body voted for each one of these. From here, I'm going to look at my chart and decide what might be the easiest thing. I know that I'm working with fractions, so if I find a common denominator for each, I think that might help me out. So I'm looking through and I realize that this denominator of 112 is divisible by 7, 14, 28, and 56. So I'm going to make equivalent fractions for each one of these. If you would like to pause at this time and make your own equivalent fractions, you may do so. Otherwise, you can follow along. I know 2/7 would be equivalent to 32 112ths. I know 1/7 is equivalent to 16 112ths. Since I have more than one 1/7, I'm going to go ahead and fill that out for my other values of 1/7. That way I don't have to do my work again. I also know 1/14 would be equivalent to 8 112ths. I have another one over here as well. 1/28 is equal to 4 112ths, and I have a few of those. 1/56 is equal to 2 112ths, and the 1 over 112 is equivalent to itself. When I'm thinking about this, I know how many absent students there are 16, so they're not taken into account in our total. So I'm going to see how many 112ths I have total. When I take the time to add this up, I find I have 111 112ths. That must mean that my absent students represent 1 112th of the data. We know that this is equivalent to 16 students. When I see my first 112th, I know that there must be 16 students here. From there, I know if I have two sets of 112ths, that must be equal to 32. Because 2 sets of 16 is 32, I'm sorry. So if I have 4 sets of 16, I get 64 total students. I'm going to fill that in here as well. And I also have 4 112ths over here. Then I don't want to forget my half-horned rhino, which is 8 112ths. 8 112ths, which 8 times 16 is 128 students. I also have the reversible Merc over here, which is 128 students. I then can move on to what 16 112ths would be. If I have 16 sets of 16, that is equal to 256 students. I have those for a couple different ones. And then finally, the only one I have left is 32 112ths. Well, 32 sets of 16 students would be equal to 512. I've already answered part of my question. So it says how many students voted for each animal. So I now know how many students voted for each animal, but it also wants to know how many total students attend the middle school. All I need to do is add all of these up. And I don't want to forget when adding up my 16 absent students, because it did not ask me how many students attended or voted that day only. It asked me how many total students there are. When I add them up, I get a total of 1,792 students at the middle school, at Zinco Middle School. You can then take this information and put it into a complete sentence, nice, neat, and organized. And that is Problem Solver 44.